welcome to my YouTube channel, Crackle on the Beat. With myself, Vicky. I am a music journalist and radio presenter that just loves obsessing and addressing all things music. So if that's your kind of thing, then hit subscribe, like, share, all that jazz, and we'll get into it. Just a little disclaimer, which I do usually mention at the start of most of my videos. I can sometimes get the rights to the music if I'm in touch with the artist, and sometimes I can't. Even if I can't get the rights to the music and I can't play the music in the videos, I will always leave a little link in the description where you can go and stream the song or the album. I love reviewing it regardless of whether I can put it in the video or not. But yeah, let's get into it. Today I am going to be delving into London Grammar's most recent album, The Greatest Love, which was released on the 13th of September 2024. A little older than the time frame that I usually review albums in, but even still, I love it and I had to review it. So if you haven't heard of London Grammar already, they are a very distilling, dawn-soaked, ethereal, beautiful trio from London with Hannah Reid's very classical and operatic vocals, Dot Major, who sort of brings his sort of liquidy sort of EDM elements to it. And then we've got Dan Rothman, who is their guitarist, very echoing, melodic, bluesy melodies from him as well. Their fourth studio album, and yeah, probably their most grown and best album so far. The Greatest Love, which on quote signifies the death of their youth. This follows their very first album in 2013, which was called If You Wait. It was very new and experimental, and it really offset the tone of Hannah's vocal prowess. It was their sort of breakthrough album, if you will, with classics such as Strong and Wasting My Young Years, which was one of my favourite songs back in the day. Slowly moving on to their second album, which was called Truth Is a Beautiful Thing, which was released in 2017. It was very deeply touching, confessional, and a very, very sentimental album. It's really had their feet on the ground with Californian Soil. They were much more levelled and a lot more talkative and kind of less mysterious than their two previous albums before that one in 2021. Fast forward to 2024/2025 with The Greatest Love, which I believe is the most realised and highest, is at its highest level yet. Really, it's the most elevated album that they have pieced together so far. But what really sets it aside from Californian Soil back in 2021 is that I feel this album doesn't linger quite as much. It is the most direct album yet. So The Greatest Love has what I believe the most conviction of all four of their albums yet. You know, it has a lot more grit and a lot more instrumental variety as well, including more layered up and upbeat tracks that we don't often immediately associate London Grammar with. An example would be the opening song House, which has sort of a very strong feminine energy with some sort of garage beats in the background as well, which has such conviction and such strength, especially within the lyrics. You know, this is my house, this is my place, this is my rules. That is the first song which opens the album, and it really says, you know, especially with Hannah's vocal and her very punchy, powerful, beautiful and ethereal, but very powerful and punchy, that this is my house, this is my place, this is my rules, I'm doing what I want now. And that's how the album sort of starts off. So that really says it all. And, you know, sort of upbeat tracks such as Santa Fe, which is very forgiving, tropical. It has a lot of housey vibes as well, while still delivering that raw, mysterious, slightly cold and bitter, niggling questions and dilemmas and heartbreaks and moral dilemmas that, you know, the lead vocalist Hannah Reid often has to come to terms with in her lyrics within the music. So, you know, we can really hear Hannah's kind of resentment in a softly delivered manner with such an ethereal and angelic, haunting vocals in tracks such as Fakest Bitch and Kind of Man. The band do really, really well at combining their different styles into one building, haunting, energetic, relaxing, thought-provoking, easy listening piece of music throughout the entirety of this album, The Greatest Love. The Greatest Love has been critically acclaimed by many, such as Clash magazine, claiming it as a finely measured return, some of the band's best work to date, and also by Hot Press as well, commenting on their style as atmospheric arrangements, which I think aesthetically and sonically is very, very accurate. To mention, the album actually peaked at number 2 on the album charts. You know, I've always seen London Grammar as somewhere in between the, you know, the well-behaved uni student that always, you know, follows the rules and does exactly as they should, but longs for something deeper and more ethereally extravagant. In that sense, it's, you know, sort of chain free, you know, feet on the ground. As I said before, you know, open blue skies and bright orange dawn. I kind of see the, you know, the first 2 albums, If You Wait and Truth Is a Beautiful Thing, as 2 separate, and then The Californian Soil and The Greatest Love as 2 separate as well. They kind of split in half, you know, day and night, really. Night and day and night, black and white, yin and yang, sad and happy. I really feel like there's a split shift down the middle between their 4 albums, in that kind of sense, and I think that really sort of helps us make sense of sort of their growth and their organisation, and also just their versatility between light and dark. They claim to have used one of the studios that Damon Albarn's, you know, the frontman of Gorillaz and Blur, that they used one of his studios whilst recording this album, which actually gave them the opportunity to work freely on their craft individually as a band, in the studio and away from the studio, which helped them sort of you know, blend their styles and sounds together as a trio more flawlessly and more accurately than they would have if they were sort of being rushed together in a studio like they had done before. This had a lot more freedom between each band member. So overall, I think The Greatest Love is far more grown than any other album that they have created to this date. It's well established and it is in its most polished form. It is dawn-soaked, it is sultry, it is cosmic, it is atmospheric, angelic, and hauntingly beautiful. The album is far more pronounced, and ultimately it seems that the layers are much thicker within the lyrics and the instrumental production. It feels like Hannah has a lot more to say, and she seems to be answering her own questions and coming to terms with the reality of life, rather than previous albums where everything was always, it kind of always felt a little unsure and hanging in the air like a question mark, open for interpretation. Time with this album, The Greatest Love, they know exactly what they want to say. There's no ifs and buts, really. It's kind of, this is what I feel and this is what I mean, and I'm not gonna beat around the bush. I'm gonna tell it as it is. The album is generally more direct, and I think that that's kind of the overall sort of synopsis that I could give. You know, they very much stick to their signature sound and their signature style, but it's gotten lighter and lighter and lighter along the way, and more and more direct, you know, more hopeful and more direct, less insecure, I believe, but you know, it's still very floaty, approachable and soft in nature, but with a more assertive backbone. I really feel like there's a lot more movement with this album. You know, the previous albums, I think, had a less is more quality to it, whereas this album has a more is more quality to it, which I think is a good thing from time to time. You know, it's just got better execution. I've been a fan of London Grammar for quite a while now, and despite this review with, you know, The Greatest Love being their most elevated album yet. The first two albums are personally my favourite, because they captured my heart at a very, very, very relatable and, you know, very relevant time in my life. And I liked the sort of sweet, empathetic heartache and vulnerability that they gave in, you know, If You Wait and Truth Is a Beautiful Thing. You know, this strong girl vibe, this strength, this conviction, I'm all here for, and I think it's absolutely fabulous with this brand new album, The Greatest Love. But I really, really appreciate their emotive and vulnerable roots. In terms of my personal preference, you know, the emo kids love it, as well as the indie kids and everybody in between. You know, London Grammar is really one for everyone, I think. To mention as well, they actually recently opened for Lana Del Rey on her tour at the moment, which she's, I believe, just finished. They opened for her at Cardiff, which was amazing, actually. I always enjoyed the idea of Hannah Reid and Lana doing a collab, and although they didn't collab, their close involvement very much pleased my soul. So there we have it. London Grammar, The Greatest Love. That's a wrap. What did you think of the album? Have you listened to it yet? If not, I'll put the link in the description where you can go and listen to that album straight away. Have you listened to any of their other albums? Are there any songs that stand out for you? Let me know. And also let me know what you want me to review next. I'm always open to suggestions. I love giving the audience exactly what they want and more. But until next time, peace.